episode one, I really liked. I really enjoyed it. I think episode two, though, episode two gave me pause when it started, and it's
We
because
were
it
wondering where it was going.
exactly it episode two deals with hair, like black hair, right?
Mhm.
And this could go so many different ways, and
Mhm.
because there has been media, focusing on black hair in the
Mhm.
past that hasn't done
Mhm.
too well. And again, this isn't to say that you have to be everything to all black people, but there
Mhm.
are some lines you shouldn't cross. And so
Mhm.
I'm not going to talk too much about it. I do like I have feelings. I have daughters. Like I said, my wife, her hair has been natural her entire life. So there's things
Yeah.
that I kind of know, but I really
Yeah.
want to hear your perspective on the hair episode because I was like, yes, I need Tess to speak on this because I was like,
I mean,
ooh,
honestly,
ooh,
I I enjoyed it. Like, we were watching it, and then remember when we were talking, you were like, "Hey, this could literally go like any way because it
yes,
could. It could have gone in a place where it was like, okay, preachy, or it could have gone in a place where it's like, you're alienating part of the audience that's gonna watch the show on episode 2. Or like there could have been a lot of things. A lot. I mean, it could have just been amazing. Oh my God, like I'm so glad you guys did this episode or whatever. Like, um, in a nutshell, it reminded me of the short, the hair short that won the
oh,
Oscar.
yes, yes, yes.
And that was great. Like at the in a nutshell, because by the time the episode was over, it really gave you that kind of wholesome um ode, this is still a little girl. And the thing is she is 13. I love the fact that they make it very clear every episode how old she really is,
Yeah.
because at that age, I remember being that age and having natural hair. Like I was in 8th grade and I've always had I don't have the best hair journey in life. Like emotionally, it's really, really been up and down. And I remember being 13 and I remember, being like teased my whole life if my hair wasn't straight and the different what methods my mom would employ to get my hair straight. I remember getting a perm when I was young, like destroying my hair and all that kind of stuff. But I do remember being 13. There are a couple of things that happened in that year in regarding my hair, but there was one specific incident where I couldn't get my hair to work that day, and my hair was natural, and I remember I couldn't get it to, like, in a ponytail, and then my teacher ended up, like, taking me out of the classroom because she said that I was being disruptive because the
Oh,
kids were laughing because I
wow.
couldn't get it into a ponytail holder, and it just wasn't
See,
working. Like, I would get it in there, and it was just, like, pop back out, and the teacher, black woman, said
oh,
I was being
that's
disruptive.
extra. That's
Oh
extra
oh, yeah, it
false.
was
Like,
extra.
just as foul.
Yeah, and she, told me to leave the classroom, and then I went into the hallway, and then she came out, and then she French braided my hair and took me back into the classroom. And in fairness, like, okay, I shouldn't even say I'm not gonna say in fairness, but
Yeah,
there were a lot
yeah.
of different feelings about that because I remember when I got home, of course, my hair is French braided. My mother knows I don't know how to French braid, and she's like, "Who did your hair?" And I'm like, "The teacher." She's like, "Why'd the teacher touch your hair?" And I told her what happened. My mom was not happy, or my sister was not
Facts.
happy. And like, in the moment, it helped because, like, she did my hair and it kind of stopped the other kids from, like, laughing the fact that I couldn't get my hair in a ponytail, but then I remember other kids saying, like, mean things. They're like, "Did you have to go wash your hands? I bet your hands were really greasy." And, like, stuff like that. It was like, I got bullied pretty bad for all kinds of things, so and that was when I was 13. So this episode with this girl being 13 years old and having some issues with her hair for picture day was really like it reminded me of a lot of things. There are lots of girls right now who are having, they're going through their natural hair journeys and they may be having difficulties, but what I can say is that the way the world is now, if you're an American girl, pretty much you're being raised by women my age. Okay. And we're not letting you go through that type stuff. So a lot of girls now, they've got their moms and grandmas who are doing exactly what the mom did in this episode,
Right.
who are being there for their child and supportive of their child and educating their child. I mean, it was very wholesome. You have the mom and the grandmother who are, loving to Lunella. They're not yelling at her, they're not beating her head up with a pick and a comb, And and I think that that was fantastic because at the end of the day, it was you had these supportive adults, and then you had a child who's been given a lot of her own agency. And, because at that age, you kind of should have a certain amount of agency. At 13, you should be able to, at least try to get a comb through your own hair. And it can be really hard for kids that age. Like it was hard for me.
Right.
And of course, me growing up, I had a lot of negative connotations on top of having thick hair. I've got a mom who doesn't have time, and it's frustrating for her, all that kind of stuff. And so I was just so happy to see the positive reinforcement from the adults, and then watching her go through the things that she had to go through to where she got to that point where she's like, you know, I love my hair the way it is. And interestingly enough, the real debacle was somewhat self-inflicted, and then, of course, somewhat influenced by other people. I mean, another person really in particular, and that is a very real thing. As I just said, I had kids in my class who were laughing at the fact I couldn't get my hair into a ponytail, and the other kid being like, "Oh, your hair is so greasy," And and so the fact that something similar happens to her from another child, it's just kind of like, "Hey, this is still a real thing. This is something that kids go through." So I wouldn't want anybody who's watching it who's not Black to be like, "Huh?" Like, no, this is real. This is
Facts.
something that a child is going through at her age, and she handled it in the only way Moon Girl would, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
scientifically and, somewhat comically. But also at the end of the day, it taught a real lesson. She didn't really have any problem with what she looked like up until this pressure moment.
Right. Right.
All of a sudden it's like it's picture day and outside influencers are saying stuff like she didn't really kind of care. And her mom was like, "It's picture day. I want every picture that you've ever taken represents who you are in that moment." And then it kind of, wheels start turning.
Right.
And then she's got a friend who's like, "Hey, I can do X, Y, and Z for you. I can hook you up for picture day," because for some reason, all of a sudden, Lunella's like, "This is so important. Oh my God." Because guess what? At 13, 12, and 13, stuff all of a sudden does become extremely important for little girls. And then you have other kids who are coming into their own at the age of 13 who can dress themselves, who've got allowances, can buy their own things, and who can do girls who have the ease of being able to get a brush and a comb through their hair and have never had a day in their life where, you know, a brush didn't get stuck just because they did something dumb. No, like a brush gets stuck in my hair because that's naturally the way it works.
Right.
Okay, so when you've got kids who can show up every day with something different or interesting, um, and you know that you only can wear like one style per week because that's all you or the adults have energy for, things are different. And so I'm pretty sure that really what was going on with Lunella in that moment was kind of outside influence and self-induced, like
Right.
psychosis. But you get what I'm saying? Like, and
Right.
it
It's
just kind of
facts.
became anxiety induced. And
Yep.
and then it just kept getting worse and worse to the point where she's like, I'm gonna solve it the way Lunella solves things, which is through science. And so I liked the episode because there was a natural progression. There were truthful, like accurate things that happened. Obviously outside of the comic stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? The things that would only happen in a comic, clearly not real. But
Exactly.
the way it became an internal conversation between her and her, an extension of her body, I thought that it was smartly done, and it was really cute, and I enjoyed it.
Facts. And shout out to
Yeah.
Casey who was ready to scrap on her behalf. Uh, she became the homie at that point.
Like, get you a friend like Casey, okay?
Facts.
Because go ride or die, curse out your enemies in another language. Like, come on, man.
She was
Like,
ready. She was with all the
yo,
stuff. She was like, "Hey, hey, hey, fam, meet me
yeah.
after lunch." Like, I was
She's like,
so
"I will literally take your sandwich and your lunch money don't come for my friend again.
Right?
Like,
Because she didn't. Because even
yo,
speaking of like Casey, she was like, I think your hair is great, but
yeah,
I'm willing to help if you don't think it's great. But then
yeah,
when the person was saying the things about Moon Girl's hair, she's like, wait, hold up. Like she immediately was like, wait a minute. Like it wasn't
mhm,
there was no prompting from her friend. She was just like, no, like who are you to even
mhm,
say whatever? And the thing is,
exactly.
I don't believe that and I could be wrong, based on this being an animation, but I don't believe that Casey is black, but even still was able to
Yeah,
recognize like this is what you're doing
mhm,
is wrong. You know what I'm saying? So that's really,
mhm,
really dope.
yeah,
Like I was definitely
yeah.
pleased. And like we said,
Casey
the
might be Afro-Latina, but she's definitely Latina, or,
yeah,
however she chooses to identify, but definitely Spanish speaking, and she could be Dominicana, but,
right.
you know.
She was down. She was ride or die for real.
Oh, yeah, she ride
Shout
or
out
die.
shout out to her. And I believe that is Libby Brer from iCarly and Grey's Anatomy. She also did voice work for DuckTales. But yeah, she plays Casey and she does an awesome job as well. Speaking of cute, you were saying they are really cute together. I think the
Yeah,
the chemistry between these two voice actresses is there. Like I don't know if they hung
yeah,
out beforehand. Obviously, they have experience, so
yeah,
they know how to do the job well. But
mhm,
just being these two characters that are younger than they are, and
mhm,
still being able to give you this best are we the are we did we suddenly become best friends vibe, like to be able to do that is really cool. And I think that's something that
Yep,
everyone can kind of see and appreciate. I know my daughters will definitely appreciate
yeah,
someone like Casey, because it does feel there can be times just being black in a space that maybe aren't that many black people, you can kind of feel
mhm,
that anxiety. And that's I mean, I gotta get my hair done now. You know what I'm saying? Like, but beyond hair is like just being amongst people and they don't understand certain things, so they say things out of
mhm,
or they're just being mean or vindictive, evil,
mm,
whatever the case may be. And then having a
mhm,
friend just be like, stop it. That's really
yeah,
cool. And
I coulda
some
used
solid
that a
writing.
lot of times.